Assalamu alaikum and welcome to this week's An Nur the Light. Apartheid saw the destruction of many communities through its Group Areas Act. The Land Restitution Act of 1994 has sought to reverse this, but for many, the process has been slow. We visited District 6 to find out just how far they've come.
District 6 stands as an icon when it comes to the ideal sense of community. People of all religious backgrounds, races and cultures live together in harmony with a sense of love and respect for each other and one another's beliefs.
District 6 was a place, where people love each other, cared for each other, respect each other. Now, I remember during apartheid years, people used to say, like the Afrikaners used to say, District 6 is a colored area. That's a term they use. But I would say, no, it wasn't a colored area. It was a colorful area. There were Jews, there were Indians, there were Hindus, there were Africans, all kinds of religions. But what was important, the most important thing in District 6 was to respect each other, and especially religion.
All this changed in 1966 when the government declared the area whites only, forced removal, store families, community structures and lives apart. All that remained were the happy memories of a loving, multicultural and religious community who suddenly found themselves strewn to the wind.
District 6, as you know, is 2 streets from here. Everybody used to walk to work. And when we came into town that morning, we saw the headlines in our newspapers, big. District 6 declared a whites-only area. Of course, people were sad, people were angry. What the hell is going on now? Because people were worried, what's going to happen to us? Where are we going to? We're going to be separated from our friends, our neighbors, and even our families. But things sort of cooled down. In 1970, the government sent in the first bulldozer, and then they started demolishing all our homes. It took them 11 years to do that. Gradually, street by street. Many people died of broken hearts. My father was also in his early 60s. When he had to leave his home in 1974, I still remember how my father cried. He didn't want to go because this was his home,
The mosques where many Muslims offer daily prayers could have stood empty, but the defiant spirit of its worshippers made sure that this never happened. Ellesmere Street Mosque is regarded as the oldest in the area and is remembered with fondness by those who worship there. It is by no means unique in that every religious building retained its community, even though they now had to travel long distances to offer their prayers.
The masjid is now 105 years old. We have two communities, really. We have a Friday community, which is the guys sort of work in town. And then they have your regular community, which is scattered all over the Cape Flats. You get guys coming in from Mitchells Plain, Bellahar, wherever they are from, they come here because their parents brought them here. They were born here. Myself, I've lived in Johannesburg for 11 years, come back to Cape Town, and I could go to my local masjid, but this is where the heart is. You come here every Tarawih, you come here Maulud, you come to Cape Town, and it's a nice journey to come to. What is unique about this masjid is it's only had 4 imams in 100 years. There's an atmosphere in this masjid that welcomes you. There's a tranquility. There is, there's some ambiance in the area, in the masjid, that attracts people to come here.
The reallocation of land to former residents is starting to change many lives. It has been a slow and painful process, but there is light on the horizon.
You can't put it into words unless you're one of the people that was coming back. Excited is not the word. Ecstatic is not the word. It's the feeling it is. You can't explain it.
Words can't explain. Alhamdulillah, I'm quite happy to be back to my roots in Cape Town.
When we came back Before entering the house, like normal, when we were in the area, we look around and it brings back that memories, that childhood memories. And you know, childhood memories, you never ever forget. And the tears are running, it's tears of joy. And it's not tears of sorrow. And when we came into the house, when we saw what we were offered, we thank Allah Ta'ala. And we thank those families, friends who made dua for us. So we can be back where we came from.
District 6 has always been a scar on the city's beautiful face. Its prime land, which was meant to house white families, never really came to be. Today, it stands as a reminder not only of a heartbreaking past, but also as a visible side of what democracy has brought to the people who once lived here.
The sadness and joy of residents can both be seen as uplifting and demoralizing as we witness how the shadow of apartheid still looms over us. It's time now, however, for our street style.
For me, style is self-expression. Even more so, street style is a combination of taking different silhouettes and making them look proper for street fashion, which means it has to be functional, it has to cover you at all times.
Style to me is a reflection of your inner self. So me being Muslim, it would be dressing modestly, but fashionably.
I would define my style as street fashion as well as a more formal dapper look.
My style can sometimes be described as eccentric. Otherwise, I love elements of fun, I like color, I like something a little funky or unconventional. I'm a self-confessed scarf addict. So whenever I choose an outfit, I choose the scarf first. It's got a satin finish, it's got beautiful florals, and it's got a lovely lace detail, which is a bit bohemian. The outfit I'm wearing today, it's a wrap over, so it's slimming, it's elegant and feminine.
First of all, I started with the sneakers. I think sneakers are very important because that's how I move through the city. And then I went with socks. I chose these socks to complement the sneakers I chose. A darker blue denim, a shirt, and these glasses to make me look more professional. I picked this jacket today because it felt quite nippy when I left the house.
So the statement necklace has got a bit of color, it ties in with the scarf, with the orange, as well as with my shoes. So which is the fun element I like to put in.
I always wear a tasbih with me, either on my neck or on my wrist. Well, today it made sense to wear it on my wrist because I'm wearing a shirt. Being a Muslim influences my style in that I'm always covered up, always try to look presentable, and I'm always clean.
Bosmont Mosque in Johannesburg is celebrating 50 years of proudly serving this community. We look back at their history and the contribution this mosque has had in the area.
Located in West Rand, Johannesburg is Bosmont, a community previously displaced by forced removals and home to the largest Cape Malay community in Johannesburg. The Bosmont Masjid Islamic Centre has been in existence for 50 years and celebrates a triumphant history.
The Bosmont Mosque Masjid is a product of the Group Areas Act back in the 60s, and it was where communities from the traditional area of Fitas and then also Albertsville were then uprooted, and then they were placed in various areas. The majority of those people ended up in the area of Bosmont, and the need for them to establish a masjid was very necessary, and hence the masjid was established in 1966. The masjid has always been that link, and it been home away from home for many people from Cape Town, Port Elizabeth, Kimberley, and it has been the hub of the Malay community. Even though there were additional mosques in other Malay areas or coloured areas, the Bosmont Mosque always was a centre and regarded as a centre to all the other mosques.
Upon arrival, members of the Muslim community pooled their resources and purchased the site on which the centre stands today, encompassing a masjid, an Islamic school, a madrasa, community hall and a ghusl-khana. The centre is the pride of the Muslim community in Bosmont.
When we look at any religious community, the religious institutions or the churches or the mosques become the center. And with Islam, the mosque was always that. The fortunate side that we have, because any belief structure within the Muslim community, whatever your ideology or your belief structure is, the mosque has never been foreign to that. So the mosque always serves as a uniting factor within the community at large. And based on that, it has always been the place where people seek solace, and even from a Quranic perspective, that when you have a need, turn towards the Almighty, and the turning to the mosque has always been something of a greater blessing and benefit for individuals, rather than just doing it in the privacy of your home or doing it somewhere else.
The madrasa had its humble beginnings in the masjid, and as the community continued to grow, so did the need for a good grounding for young people. In 1995, the Bosmont Masjid Islamic Centre extended their premises with the building of an Islamic school.
I was elected as the secretary of the mosque committee at the time, and then became part of the subcommittee on education, and the one thing led to another. This precinct, or the mosque precinct, and the adjoining building of the school always enjoyed a culture of learning. Though it was the cultural part of learning where it entailed the afternoon madrasa after the regular secular or day school, as it were. But there was also a grouping of what was fondly referred to as the morning madrasa, which housed the little ones, like a preschool. And one of the ustadas or the teachers there, she just wondered out loud at one point, why don't we start a school? So she actually, the credit should go to her for having vocalized the thought of the establishment of a regular mainstream school. My response was, why not? And I was most probably well placed at the time. So it's not so much by strategic or by design, it's a little bit by accident too. But we always would want to believe that it's by divine intervention as well.
Traditionally, there was the secular school, or what was called the government school, or even in the Malay community, they called the Christian school, because of Christian education was promoted highly there. In the afternoons, from 3 to 5, the kids then had to come to the madrasa or the Islamic school. And this is where we find that it was necessary for them to eventually establish a madrasa or an Islamic school.
Despite the unfortunate circumstances surrounding the establishment of the Bosmont community, its residents have turned calamity into triumph. Inspired by a love and duty to Islam, the Bosmont community has gone from strength to strength.
Our Q&A segment will be coming up soon, and if you're seeking answers to those burning questions, please get in contact with us and we'll have Maulana Philanda answer them. Up next is our books, tech and app segment.
60 years of family, friendship and food is a compilation of recipes and stories by Mustaq Bray and the Bray family. After many requests for his soji recipe, he felt it was the right time to publish a range of all his favorites. With anecdotes and tales accompanying many of the recipes, it feels as if he has invited you into his home to enjoy and learn to make some of his delectable meals. This is not just a book about food, but a book about dreams. What a great biographical journey told through the tale of food. The religious faith of Muslims, based on the words and religious system founded by the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and taught by the Quran, can now be found using a dynamic smartphone app. This free dictionary can be downloaded from your App Store or Play Store. Developed to provide the most accurate information in the smallest possible size, this word search engine is filled with Islamic terms and their meanings used commonly by the Muslim community. The world's first automatic wudu washer is changing the wudu experience, incorporating nanotechnology with antibacterial and antifungal coating. It makes taking wudu more hygienic. It also saves water when compared to conventionally taking wudu. With air vents to dry and speakers to play recitations, this greener technology still allows Muslims to perform wudu according to the teachings of Islam.
We're always happy to hear from you, our viewer. Send us a message on Facebook, post a pic to our Instagram, or send us an email with any ideas or suggestions. It's time now to get cooking.
Nothing reminds me more of my maternal grandmama Wadi than the smell of a pot of sago food cooking on the stove when my parents were away. And I've adapted her recipe somewhat for my very fussy eaters at home. You're gonna love it because it's quick and easy to make. And the ingredients that we need for this sago food is the following. I've got 2 medium onions that I've finely chopped. I've got 4 chicken breast fillets cut into strips. I've got a half a cup of sago that I've cheated. So you take half a cup of sago, 500 ml of water, stick it in the microwave for 4 minutes, and Bob's your uncle, your sago's done, and no sticky residue in the bottom of your pot. I've got a half a cup of parsley, finely chopped. I've got 1 serrano chili that I've split down the middle, and I've left the seeds in because I like it hot. You have the option to remove those. I've got a heaped tablespoon of garlic. I've got a heaped tablespoon of freshly ground black pepper. I've got oil. So in this case, I'm using sunflower oil. You can use olive oil as an option, but it's not the kind of oil that you want to use to fry your onions in it. I've got a half a cup of very fine vermicelli. This is the roasted version, so you don't have to brown it at all. I've got 2 bay leaves and 2 sticks cinnamon. I've got a teaspoon of crushed red chili. I've got a teaspoon of white pepper. I've got 5 pimento or allspice, 5 cloves, salt to taste. I never tell you how much salt because that's a personal preference. I like things salty, a lot of people don't, and you could do without. And then I've got a half a teaspoon of nutmeg, and that's just to add that pop of flavor at the end. And all we need to do now is start by roasting my whole spices. So I'm gonna put my pot on a high heat, get that nice and warm, and then start roasting off my whole spices before we start braising our onions with our green chili. So that should be warm enough. I'm gonna start off with my aromatics. So I'm putting in bay leaves and cinnamon, my pimento or allspice. Pimento and cloves are 2 of the ingredients, together with bay leaf, that you find in almost every Cape Malay dish. Where the Afrikaners introduced us to the potato, the one thing we introduced them to was aromatics. I'm just gonna let these roast off until you can smell them. And once you start smelling them, that's when you know you can add your oil. So in goes 45 ml of sunflower oil. And now I'm gonna pop in that serrano chili and just get all the oil in those seeds to infuse with my oil. Okay, my oil is hot enough, so in goes my onions. And this I'm gonna brown, but very lightly brown because you want to maintain the sweetness. So with my onions, I'm just gonna add a touch of seasoning, and that's my salt. And yes, it looks like I'm adding a lot of salt, but bear in mind this is going to be a soup and not just a stew. So you've got a lot more volume to carry that load of salt. So when you're making any kind of Asian soup, you don't want your onions to be brown. You want them to be soft, lightly sauteed with just little bits of brown edges. So keep a close eye. Don't leave the pot for the next 5 minutes. This is about the hardest part in making this dish, is making sure your onions are spot on. So my onions are now at the perfect consistency, soft, succulent, and beautifully light golden brown. I'm gonna add my chicken breast, followed by my spices. So when your chicken starts to cook and it breaks apart, that's absolutely fine. You can even use whole chicken pieces and then pull the meat from the bone afterwards. And get my chicken well coated in the onion. And then in goes my spices. So I'm gonna start with my chilies, white pepper. And this might seem like it's a tad overspiced to you, but bear in mind it's going to be a soup. Pinch of salt, because we've already added quite a bit of salt to our onions, and the nutmeg. And that's what reminds you that this has a Malaysian home. is when you smell that nutmeg. So black pepper. So I'm adding half now, and I'll add the rest later. So you want to keep tossing your chicken with the spices on quite a high heat because you want to make sure that your chicken breast stays succulent and it doesn't dry out. So my chicken's nearly cooked all the way. I'm adding my garlic. And with garlic, I like to work quickly. I'm adding my vermicelli. And this is just to add extra texture to the dish. And a splash of water. I'm going to pop the lid on just for a few seconds so that my vermicelli can actually steam and soften up before I add the sago, which is already cooked. And then it's to add the parsley and it's all done. So my vermicelli should be softened now. And as you can see, the strands have just softened up really nicely in less than 2 minutes. I'm going to add some more pepper, which is the rest of my pepper. And I'm popping in the sago. This is also a great dish during Ramadan when your stomachs aren't so used to the fasting as yet, and it just serves to bind your stomach really, really well. And now I'm going to add enough water to reach a consistency that I like. I don't like it to be runny like a consommé would be, but rather a chunky soup like you would have with barley, and that's what I'll use the rice for later. Just keep an eye on your pot to make sure that the sago doesn't stick to the bottom. Our fresh parsley. And that's it. Everything's done. Easy peasy.
Now, if only we could eat like that all the time. I know I'd be very happy. In fact, my cooking skills are improving every day. Maybe I should try my hand one week and share with you all my cinnamon roll recipe. But until next time, I'm Mari Mokwanda. Salang Hantle. Assalamu alaikum.